Hey guys, so this is something I've been wanting to talk about for a few months, since like January, I think. Yeah, I think January. Well, most of you probably know that I went to a college, university, whatever you want to call it, but you may not know what I studied. I double majored in English and art history. I also minored in Italian, but I promptly forgot pretty much everything about it. So, as an art history major, I studied about all kinds of art through the ages. Yes, Art Through the Ages was actually a textbook that I had. 2 volumes of it, I believe. I studied art from cave paintings all the way to modern day, but my favorite of all of them was probably Renaissance art. And Van Gogh. I like Van Gogh too. But back to the Renaissance. I was lucky enough to study in Italy one summer. While I was there, I took an Italian conversation class and an art history class. It was one of the best experiences in my life. I got to see works by Botticelli, Giotto, Cimabue, Ghirlandaio, all of these awesome artists. And of course, Michelangelo, Leonardo, Donatello, Raphael, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I'm kidding, I know they're not Italian, though they do really like pizza. But yes, what I meant was the artists. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is I spent a lot of time looking at and learning about Renaissance art. So, quick question, do you ever get the urge to just learn something new? Hopefully it's not just me, because this happens a lot. And recently I've gotten that itch. So after years of hearing about Giorgio Vasari's Lives of the Most Excellent, this sounds like something from Bill and Ted, but I promise it's an actual title of a book. Lives of the Most Excellent Painters, Sculptors, and Architects, originally published in 1550, I finally decided to read the series. All 5 volumes. I have only made it through 1 right now. I'm making my way through the second one currently. It's taken a while. Anyway, Giorgio Vasari is often called the first art historian. And while some of the things he wrote were not exactly true, he still wrote about some pretty interesting things. Now, supposedly he's biased toward Florentine artists, but I'm actually kind of okay with that because I spent most of my time in Italy in Florence, so I actually got to see a lot of the stuff that he talks about in his book. Also, he was possibly the person who coined the term Renaissance for that art period. Anyway, the book series is basically just a list of artist biographies. So as I've been reading that, I have been thinking of other things that I want to read that are kind of related. So I went to the library and I checked out a bunch of books. Okay, so I checked out a lot of books. Ow, this is really heavy. So let's see what I got. These 4 books are all about the lives of the saints. Since I'm not a Catholic, I know very little about the saints. I can recognize some of them in paintings because I learned about them in art history class. For instance, if I see a half-naked guy tied to a post with arrows sticking all out of him, I know that that's Saint Sebastian. A woman tied to a large wheel? That would be Saint Catherine. A woman holding a tray with her own eyes on it? Yeah, Catholics are kind of weird. That's Saint Lucy. And of course, I know Jesus and Mary and Joseph and John the Baptist and, people like that because I've read the Bible. But saints are a whole new world for me. Anyway, I thought it might be interesting to learn a little more about those, so I got those books. And of course, since some of the stories depicted in paintings are from the Apocrypha, well, I went ahead and got this book called The Other Bible, and it has, ancient alternative scriptures, the Gnostic Gospels, Dead Sea Scrolls, visionary wisdom texts, Christian Apocrypha, Jewish pseudepigrapha? I don't even know what that is. And the Kabbalah. Probably not gonna read all of this. It's kind of huge. It's got like books from the Bible that are not actually in the Bible anymore, that were taken out. So like the Book of Enoch is in here. But yeah, it's got like a lot of infancy stories. So this tells you all about like Mary's parents, who are saints. Joachim and Anne, I think, are their names. Anyway, so this tells about them also. So kind of interesting. And because this book is set in a similar time period and features some of the artists that were written about in Giorgio Vasari's lives, I went ahead and got the Decameron by Giovanni Boccaccio. Now, some of you may have seen on my gaming channel that I did a Minecraft Decameron, although it didn't finish. We only did 2 episodes, and then it just kind of went away, I guess. But yeah, I'm actually going to read the original, so cool. And since I was browsing in that section of the library, I happened to find another book by Boccaccio called The Nymph of Fiesole. And so I went ahead and grabbed that too because it's really short and it's poetry, so I should be able to get through it really quickly. But I've been reading it since January and I'm not very far into it. But another reason that I picked that one up is that I have actually been to Fiesole, and there are actually pictures of me there. And yeah, I've been there twice. I actually ate my very last dinner in Italy at a restaurant there and tried limoncello for the first and last time. By the way, if you were curious what it tastes like, you should probably just, I don't know, stick some lemon heads in some vodka and let it sit for about 30 years. So anyway, those are the books that I picked up. That is what I'm learning about. I am learning about Italian Renaissance artists and other things that went on around the time of the Renaissance, and of course, Lives of the Saints. Lots of fun stuff for a nerd like me. Anyway, before I go today, I thought that I would read a story to you guys that was in Giorgio Vasari's Lives of the Artists, which is what people call it, the short version. So yeah, this was a very interesting story that I read, and I thought that you guys might enjoy it. So this is a story about Buonamico Buffalmacco. I hope I said that correctly. Anyway, he was a painter from Florence. It is said that in the year 1302 he was summoned to Assisi, and that in the church of St. Francis, in the chapel of St. Catherine, he painted all the stories of her life in fresco, which have been very well preserved. And there are, therein, some figures that are worthy to be praised. This chapel finished, on his passing through Arezzo, Bishop Guido, by reason of having heard that Buonamico was a gay fellow and an able painter, desired him to stop in that city and paint for him, in the Vescovado, the chapel where baptisms are now held. Buonamico, having put his hand to the work, had already done a good part of it when there befell him the strangest experience in the world, which was, according to what Franco Sacchetti relates, as follows. The bishop had an ape, the drollest and the most mischievous that there had ever been. This animal, standing once on the scaffolding to watch Buonamico at work, had given attention to everything, and had never taken his eyes off him when he was mixing the colors, handling the flasks, beating the eggs for making the distempers, and in short, when he was doing anything else whatsoever. Now, Buonamico, having left off working one Saturday evening, on the Sunday morning this ape, notwithstanding that he had, fastened to his feet, a great block of wood which the bishop made him carry in order that thus he might not be able to leap wherever he liked, climbed onto the scaffolding whereon Buonamico was used to stand to work, in spite of the very great weight of the block of wood, and there, seizing the flasks with his hands, pouring them one into another and making 6 mixtures, and beating up whatever eggs there were, he began to daub over with the brushes all the figures there, and persevering in this performance, did not cease until he had repainted everything with his own hand. And this done, he again made a mixture of all the colors that were left him, although they were but few, and getting down from the scaffolding, went off. Monday morning having come, Buonamico returned to his work, where, seeing the figures spoilt, the flasks all mixed up, and everything upside down, he stood all in marvel and confusion. Then, having pondered much in his own mind, he concluded finally that some Aretine had done this, through envy or through some other reason. Wherefore, having gone to the bishop, he told him how the matter stood and what he suspected, whereat the bishop became very much disturbed, but, consoling Buonamico, desired him to put his hand again to the work and to repaint all that was spoilt. And because the bishop had put faith in his words, which had something of the probable, he gave him 6 of his men-at-arms, who should stand in hiding with halberds while he was not at work, and, if anyone came, should cut him to pieces without mercy. The figures then having been painted over again, one day that the soldiers were in hiding, lo and behold, they hear a certain rumbling through the church, and a little while after, the ape climbing onto the scaffolding. And in the twinkling of an eye, the mixtures made, they see the new master set himself to work over the saints of Buonamico. Calling him, therefore, and showing him the culprit, and standing with him to watch the beast at his work, they were all like to burst with laughter. And Buonamico, in particular, for all that he was vexed thereby, could not keep from laughing till the tears came. Finally, dismissing the soldiers who had mounted guards with their halberds, he went off to the bishop and said to him, "My lord, you wish the painting to be done in one fashion, and your ape wishes it done in another." Then, relating the affair, he added, "There was no need for you to send for painters from elsewhere if you had the true master at home, but he perhaps knew not so well how to make the mixtures. Now that he knows, let him do it by himself, since I am no more good here. And his talent being revealed, I am content that there should be nothing given to me for my work, save leave to return to Florence." The bishop, hearing the affair, although it vexed him, could not keep from laughing, and above all, as he thought how an animal had played a trick on him who was the greatest trickster in the world. Speaking of Buonamico, who apparently was quite a trickster. However, after they had talked and laughed their fill over this strange incident, the bishop persuaded Buonamico to resume the work for the third time, and he finished it. And the ape, as punishment and penance for the crime committed, was shut up in a great wooden cage and kept where Buonamico was working until this work was entirely finished, and no one could imagine the contortions which that creature kept making in this cage with his face, his body, and his hands, seeing others working and himself unable to take part. So yeah, it was the story of a painting ape. I thought it was kind of interesting. And I really hope it was true and not something that Vasari just like made up, because I think it's kind of hilarious. Anyway, I liked that one, so I thought you guys might enjoy it also. But that is it for today. Now that I have read you a nice little story and showed you all the books and talked about art history and all that good stuff, I think I'm gonna go. Maybe read. Who knows? Anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!